I heard the scratching before I saw the vent move. At first, I thought it was coming from the ceiling. Then the sound changed. Slow. Metal against metal. Like someone was dragging a fork across the inside of an air duct. I stood in the basement corridor with my flashlight pointed ahead, trying not to breathe too loudly. The hospital above me was dead quiet. No patients, no nurses, no footsteps.
Welcome to Dark Horror Stories. This is Fear Aloud Files. Tonight's file is called The Vent.
Just that sound, coming from behind a rusted vent cover on the wall. Then it stopped. And for a few seconds I actually felt relieved, until something behind the vent breathed. Not air from a machine, not wind, a wet, tired breath. Like something alive was pressed right up against the other side. Then the screws began to turn one by one from inside. I started working security at Blackwood Memorial Hospital 3 months after it shut down. The place wasn't fully abandoned. Not officially. The city had sold part of the property to a private company, and renovation crews were supposed to turn the old West Wing into medical offices. But anyone who worked there knew the truth. The project had already gone bad. People quit. Tools disappeared. Lights came on in sealed rooms. And then a nurse named Claire Donovan vanished during a late renovation inspection. That was the story everyone whispered about. Not loudly, never loudly. Because the company didn't want anyone talking about it. My job was simple. Sit in the security room, check the cameras, walk 2 patrol rounds, and keep homeless people or thrill-seeking kids from sneaking inside. On my first night, the supervisor handed me the keys and said only one thing that stayed with me. Basement B is not part of your route. I asked him why. He looked at me for a second too long. Then he said, because that's where Claire was last seen. That should have been enough for me, but it wasn't. Because at 2:17 a.m., 3 nights later, one of the dead basement cameras came back online, and it was pointed directly at a vent. I kept watching it. I don't know why. There was nothing normal about what I was seeing. And still, I didn't switch the feed. The movement inside the vent stopped. Completely, like whatever was in there knew I was watching. I leaned back in my chair, trying to think clearly. This didn't make sense. That level had no power, no active wiring. That camera shouldn't even be connected to the system. And yet, there it was, working, clear. I checked the timestamp. 2:17 a.m., live feed. Not recorded. That's when something else caught my attention. There was a shadow inside the vent. Not deep inside. Close. Too close. At first, I thought it was just darkness shifting. But then it moved. Not like an animal, not like something crawling randomly. It adjusted. Like it was trying to position itself behind the opening. I felt this tightness in my chest. That feeling you get when something is wrong, but you don't know how bad it is yet. I grabbed the radio. Control to maintenance. Anyone working basement B? Static. No response. I tried again. Same result. That's when I remembered what my supervisor said. Basement B is not part of your route. I looked back at the screen. The vent moved again. This time, slower, deliberate, and then something pressed against the metal from inside, hard enough to bend it, just slightly, but enough to know whatever was inside was strong. I should have reported it. I should have stayed in that room and waited for someone else to come handle it. But I didn't. Because a thought got stuck in my head. What if someone was trapped down there? What if that missing nurse was still alive? And that thing inside the vent wasn't trying to get out. It was trying to get to her. I stood up before I could talk myself out of it, grabbed my flashlight, keys, radio, and for the first time since I started that job, I went down to the basement. The basement stairwell was colder than the rest of the building, not just a little colder, like the air had been sitting there for years, not moving. The kind of cold that feels damp, heavy. The lights didn't work down there, I already knew that, so when I opened the door and saw nothing but darkness, I wasn't surprised. What bothered me was the smell. It hit me before I even took the first step. Old water, rust, and something else. Underneath it, something faint, but wrong. I stood there for a second, hand on the railing, trying to listen. Nothing. No movement, no sound. Just silence. Then I stepped down. Each step echoed more than it should have, like the space below was bigger than the building above. I kept my flashlight low at first. Didn't want to blind myself with dust or reflections. When I reached the bottom, I turned it forward. The corridor looked exactly like the camera feed. Same wall, same layout, same vent. Except now, it wasn't on a screen. It was right there. About 20 feet ahead of me. I didn't move at first, I just stood there, staring at it, trying to match what I saw in real life with what I had just seen on the monitor. Everything lined up. Same scratches around the edges, same slightly bent frame. And then I realized something. On the camera, the vent had been moving. Right now, it was completely still. That should have made me feel better. It didn't, because the silence down there felt different. Not empty. Waiting. I started walking toward it, slowly, one step at a time. My boots sounded too loud. Every step felt like I was announcing where I was. Halfway down the corridor, I stopped. There was a sound. Very faint. Above me. Not loud enough to be clear, but enough to notice. A slow, dragging movement. Inside the ceiling. I didn't look up immediately. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't want to confirm it. The sound followed, keeping pace with me. Step, drag, like something was moving through the ducts, right above my head. I forced myself to keep walking, telling myself it was just old metal, loose pipes, anything. But then I stopped again, because the sound stopped too. Exactly when I did. And that's when I looked up. The flashlight beam hit the ceiling vent directly above me, and for a split second, I saw something behind it. Not clearly, just a shape. Too close to the opening. Too still. Like it had been watching me the whole time. Then it moved. Fast. Not crawling. Sliding. Away from the light and deeper into the dark. I stood there frozen. Heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. And then, from the vent in front of me, the one at the end of the corridor, something inside. Scratched. Once. Then again. And this time, it didn't stop. It started pushing. From the inside. I froze. Not because I wanted to, but because my body just stopped. The scratching inside the vent got louder, closer, metal bending, slow, steady. And then it stopped again. For a second, everything went quiet. And that's when I heard it. Hello. The voice came from behind me, soft, weak. A woman's voice. I turned slowly. Nothing there. just the dark corridor, stretching back to the stairwell. Can you hear me? This time it wasn't behind me. It came from the vent in front of me, Chit, the same vent that was moving. I didn't answer. I couldn't. My throat felt tight, dry. The voice sounded wrong. Not broken, not distorted, too clean. Like someone trying very carefully to sound human. I'm down here. A pause. Please help me. My grip tightened on the flashlight. Claire. That was her name. Claire Donovan, the nurse who went missing. I took a step closer to the vent. Slowly. Carefully. I'm here, I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. There was a pause on the other side. Then, a sound. Not a voice. A wet movement. Like something shifting. Adjusting. And then the voice came back. Closer now. Too close. You came alone? Something about the way it said that made my stomach drop. I didn't answer. The metal of the vent bent outward slightly. And through the gaps, I saw it. Not clearly. Just skin. Pale. Too pale. Pressed tight against the inside. And then, an eye. Not blinking. Just staring out at me. Unmoving. The voice came again. But this time, it didn't sound the same. Open it. It wasn't weak anymore, and it wasn't scared. It was steady. Expecting. I stepped back, and the eye followed me. Still watching. Still not blinking. Please. It said again. But the tone didn't match the word anymore. It wasn't asking. It was waiting. Like it already knew what I was going to do. That's when something shifted above me again. Fast. Running through the vents. Heading toward my position. And I realized whatever was talking to me wasn't the only thing in there. I should have walked away. I knew something wasn't right. Everything about it felt wrong. The voice, the timing, the way it spoke. But that thought didn't stay in my head long because it said her name. Please. I'm Claire. That was it. That's what got me. For a second, everything made sense again. A missing nurse, trapped, trying to get out. And whatever I saw, whatever I heard, my brain started explaining it, making it normal. I stepped forward. Slowly. The eye inside the vent didn't blink, didn't move, just watched me. You're okay, I said more to myself than anything else. I'm going to get you out. The metal cover was already bent outward. I could see where something inside had forced it open before. I reached for it. The moment my fingers touched the edge, the voice changed. Not completely, but enough. Good, it whispered. That word didn't sound like her, not even close. I should have stopped right there. I didn't. I pulled. The vent cover came loose easier than it should have, not too easy. Like it had already been opened. Many times. The screws fell to the floor with a sharp metallic echo. And for a second, nothing happened. Just darkness inside the duct. Then something shifted. Fast. I didn't even have time to react. A hand shot out from the darkness. Not human. Too long, too thin, the fingers wrapped around my wrist. Cold. Wet. I tried to pull back, but it was stronger, way stronger. It yanked me forward. My shoulder slammed into the wall. The flashlight dropped, spinning across the floor, throwing light everywhere. And for the first time, I saw it. Not all of it. Just enough. A face pressed inside the vent. But it wasn't a face. Not fully. The skin was stretched, too tight in some places, too loose in others, like it didn't fit properly. And the mouth, it was wrong, too wide, smiling, but not because it was happy, because it didn't know how not to. It pulled harder, trying to drag me inside, and behind it, I saw more movement, more shapes, crawling, waiting. That's when I realized it wasn't pulling me in to escape. It was pulling me in to feed. I kicked the wall with everything I had. My wrist slipped free. I stumbled back, falling hard onto the floor. And the thing inside the vent let out a sound. Not a scream. Not anger. Something worse. Disappointment. Like I had almost done exactly what it wanted. And now, I'd ruined it. I didn't run, not right away. I just lay there for a second, trying to breathe, trying to understand what I'd just seen. Then, the vent behind me moved again. Not slowly this time. Violently. Metal snapped. Something forced itself forward, and I didn't wait to see the rest. I grabbed the flashlight and ran. The corridor felt longer now, different. My footsteps were loud again. But this time I didn't care, because something else was moving too. Above me. Fast. Not dragging anymore, running. Through the vents. Keeping pace. Matching me. I turned the corner at the end of the hall and almost slipped. The floor was wet. Not water. Something thicker. I didn't stop. I kept moving until I saw a partially open maintenance door. I went inside and shut it quietly behind me. Locked it. And then I just stood there. Listening. Dark room, no windows. Just shelves and old equipment covered in dust. I turned off the flashlight. Everything went black. I held my breath. And waited. At first, nothing. Then a sound in the hallway. Slow. Uneven. Footstep, but not right. Too soft in some places, too heavy in others. Like it was still learning how to walk. I felt my chest tighten. Because I understood something then. It wasn't staying in the vents anymore. It was out. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. Silence again. Then, a voice. Soft. Right on the other side. You dropped something. It was her voice again. Claire. But now, it sounded closer. More confident. Like it wasn't pretending anymore. My hand slowly tightened around the flashlight. I didn't answer. I didn't move. The handle of the door shifted. Just slightly. Like something was testing it. Then the voice came again. Open it. Pause. We can't fit through the vents anymore. My blood went cold. Something scratched lightly against the door. Not trying to break in, just feeling. Mapping. Learning. And then another sound. From inside the room. Behind me. Very faint. Very close. A soft, dragging movement in the dark. I didn't turn around, not immediately, because I knew whatever made that sound behind me and was already too close. The door in front of me creaked again, slow, careful, like something outside was still there, still listening. You don't have to hide. That voice again, soft, patient. Just open the door. I stayed still, didn't breathe, didn't move. And then, from somewhere deeper inside the room, behind me, I heard it. A whisper. Don't. It was faint, barely there. But it was different. Not smooth, not controlled. Broken. Weak. Real. Don't open it. My throat tightened. That wasn't the same voice. Not even close. The thing outside spoke again. "You're not safe in there." But now, I could hear the difference. Outside, perfect, too perfect. Inside, shaking, struggling. "Please," the voice behind me whispered again. "It's not me." My heart started racing because I finally understood. Whatever was outside that door wasn't Claire, but something inside this room was. I turned slowly. The darkness didn't change, but I could feel it. Someone there, very close. My hand trembled as I lifted the flashlight. I didn't want to see, but I had to. I clicked it on. The beam cut through the darkness and landed on the far corner of the room. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Then it moved, just slightly. A person, curled up, chained, thin, too thin, skin pale, stretched tight over bone. And her eyes, they locked onto mine instantly, wide, desperate. She shook her head, slow, weak. "Don't," she whispered. Her voice cracked. "Don't let them in." Behind me, the door handle jerked, harder this time. The voice outside changed again. No softness now, no pretending, just irritation. "You found her." A pause. Then, "That makes it easier." Something slammed against the door. Once. Then again. And the chains behind me rattled. Not because she moved, because something else in the room just shifted. I kept the light on her, on Claire, because I didn't want to look anywhere else. The chains around her wrists were tight, cutting into the skin. Old restraints. Rust welded into place. She tried to speak again, but no sound came out, just air. And then something moved behind her. Not her, something in the dark, just beyond where the light reached. I froze, because the beam didn't catch it fully, but I saw enough. A shape pressed low against the ground. Too long, too still. And then it shifted. Slowly, like it didn't want me to notice. Claire's eyes changed. Not fear anymore. Panic. She shook her head harder this time, trying to tell me something. But I already knew. I wasn't alone in that room. The door behind me slammed again, harder. Wood cracked slightly near the frame. The thing outside was getting impatient. "You can't keep her," it said. Its voice wasn't human anymore. It didn't even try. It sounded layered, like multiple voices keep speaking through the same mouth. "Give her back." The thing behind Claire moved again, faster this time. And the light finally caught it. For just a second. Enough. It wasn't like the one in the vent. This one was lower, closer to the ground. Its limbs bent the wrong way. Too many joints. Its skin looked peeled, not torn, removed, like something had taken it off and put it back on, incorrectly. It didn't crawl. It folded forward to feel closer to her, and then it turned its head toward me, too fast. The eyes reflected the light instantly. Bright. Hungry. Claire tried to pull away, but the chains held her in place. "Don't let it touch you," she whispered. Too late. Because the thing outside the door, Sir, stopped hitting it. Everything went quiet. And that silence was worse. Because I realized something. They weren't trying to get in anymore. They were waiting. For me to move. For me to make a choice. Behind me, the door creaked open. Just a little. No force, no impact. Just opening. And something from the hallway slipped inside, without a sound, The thing behind Claire moved toward me. The thing behind me closed the distance. And I understood they weren't hunting separately. They were hurting me. I didn't run. There was nowhere left to go. In front of me, that thing unfolding itself off the ground. Behind me, something breathing, close enough that I could feel it. And in the middle, Claire, still chained, still watching me. For a second, I thought about helping her, breaking the chains, getting her out. But the way she looked at me, it stopped me. Not fear, not panic. Something else? Recognition. Like she already knew what was about to happen. "Don't," she whispered, but this time it didn't sound like a warning. It sounded like regret. The thing in front of me moved first. Fast. Too fast to react. It didn't grab me. It went past me, straight to Claire. And that's when she screamed. Not from pain, from understanding. "No," she tried. But the sound cut off. The thing behind me stepped forward, cold hands, long, wet fingers wrapped around my arms, holding me in place, forcing me to watch. The one in front of Claire didn't tear into her, didn't bite. It pressed against her, skin to skin. And then it started to sink in. Not physically, but wrong. Like her body was absorbing it. Or it was taking something from her. Her voice, her shape, her face. I couldn't look away. Because the thing behind me made sure of that. Claire's body went still. Her head dropped forward, and the thing that stood up was her. Perfect. Unharmed. No chains. No wounds. Just standing there. Breathing. Looking straight at me. And then she smiled. Not like before. Not desperate. Not weak. Calm. Satisfied. The thing behind me let go. And I didn't move. Because I understood. They didn't need to kill me. No, not yet. She stepped closer. Slowly. "Thank you," she said, her voice now perfect. Real. "You opened it." I felt my throat tighten, because behind her, in the dark, I could see movement, more shapes, more of them, waiting, watching. And then she leaned in close enough that I could feel her breath. "You'll stay here," she whispered. A pause, and we'll go up. My stomach dropped. "No." I tried, but something grabbed me again. From behind, from the sides, multiple hands. Pulling, dragging me backward, toward the vent. The same one, now open, wider than before. Impossible. I tried to fight, but it didn't matter. Because they weren't rushing anymore. They knew I couldn't escape. As they pulled me closer, I looked up one last time, and I saw her, walking toward the door, opening it, stepping into the hallway, like nothing had ever happened, like she belonged there. And just before I was dragged into the dark, I heard her say, "Don't worry," a pause, soft, "We'll find more." And then everything went black. They found the security room empty the next morning. No sign of forced entry, no sign of struggle. The basement door was locked. And the cameras never showed anyone leaving. Except one thing. At 3:12 a.m., a nurse walked out of the building. Calm. Normal. Unnoticed. They confirmed her identity later. Claire Donovan. Missing for 3 weeks. Returned. Without a scratch. She never spoke about what happened. Never answered questions. And she never went back to the hospital. But sometimes on the new security system, I thought that late at night, one camera turns on, just one, and it points at a vent